Welcome to Act 2 You're On. Join us weekly at our studio roundtable as Rhonda
and Kate invite spectacular guests to weigh in on staying vibrant and healthy.
Launch your next great act with authenticity and purpose.
Summon your courage, superstar, and step into the limelight. So grab a coffee
or a martini
and let's set the stage for a grand entrance. It's Act 2.
You're on. Greetings, friends. I am Rhonda Garvin Conaway. Welcome to Act 2 You're On. And I'm joined today with my amazing co-host,
Kate Levy. And we are also joined by our talented producer behind the scenes, Kathy Carswell.
Welcome, everyone. Today's guest has an intriguing reinvention story.
Those are my favorite.
I know, mine too. When we look around, it seems like the time we're living in is inviting new ways to think about the work we do and what we create. Are you someone who has an idea to make something? Maybe publish, compose, design something? Can you envision this something? And is it completely different from what you were trained to do? Or today's podcast is for you. Matt Rufo is from Framingham, Massachusetts, and is the owner and operator of Everything Quality Construction. Matt is also a children's author with 3 published works and 1 more soon to be released. Despite the rigors of construction and the time-consuming nature of owning a business, Matt has found time to write, often short stories. His wife, Tara, an elementary school teacher, pushed him to continue writing. When schools and businesses shut down at the onset of the coronavirus pandemic, Matt told stories to his 4-year-old daughter. And then Freddy the Frog was born. And I think there's also Amanda the Anteater.
Oh,
yes.
Too cute.
Let's learn more about this fun-loving amphibian. Welcome, Matt Rufo.
Thank you. Thank you. Happy to be here. Appreciate it.
Oh, this is exciting. We want to know. Construction, children's author, how do those things go together? Elaborate for us on how you grew this idea and how you grew this part of yourself.
Yeah, they have nothing to do with each other. And clients, when I show up, when they hear about it after the fact, they're like, "What do you mean you have kids books? When do you do that? How do you do that? You know, that kind of stuff." But I was an English major briefly way back in college. At the turn of the century, and I always had a love for writing back then, but I actually had a guidance counselor in college that sat down and told me at UMass Amherst, I don't remember their name, but they said, maybe you should think about a different major. This really isn't for you. So it's always been in the back of my mind for everything that I do, where I'm like, you know what? I don't care if someone says you can't do it. It just makes me want to go, try to do it more.
Mm-hmm.
That whole never give up. It doesn't matter if maybe you're not that good at it. You can keep trying harder, keep working at it. Just like with the contracting business too. I was a salesman outside of after college for about 9 years. And I just decided I didn't want to work for anybody else. So I decided, hey, I'll start my own business. And that's been going great ever since. That's been going for about 10, 11 years now. But the writing I always did in my spare time. I never thought of it as really a job. It wasn't work. It was, I have some free time. I enjoy this. I'll do this. And being home with my 4-year-old at the time, she was doing remote learning in preschool, which was ridiculous. So it got me back into, trying to occupy her time, working on words and all that sort of stuff and bringing back the stories. And I would always tell her stories at night before bed. So I thought, well, geez, why not take some of these stories and start putting them into actual books. My wife, she has a master's degree in linguistics. So I had this idea when I wrote the first Freddy the Frog flying his Frisbee, which I have right here, actually. See, props. I have props.
I love it. Good, because we want to hear about that a little bit as we go on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but keep going. Yes.
Yeah. So the idea was, she told me, I didn't know what alliteration was, to be honest. And she said, the story is based on alliteration. It's a great way. That's how little kids learn. And so that's where the first 3 books came from. They were all based on alliteration, but there was always a tie to family and, respect and care about, your friends and your community. There's always that theme in all of my stories. And the 4th book that's coming out is a break away from the alliteration, a more grown-up story, but still for kids. It's how my daughter dealing with losing her grandmother and my wife losing her mother recently, and how that all, ties into for any kid or any family anywhere, and how we all stick together and take care of each other and all that sort of stuff. So it was emotional story for me and her and Samantha to hear and see me work on it. But again, it's just been a lot of fun. They really enjoy it. It's really just my free time is limited, but it's a fun part of my free time. When I come up with the new stories. So I hope that answers the question.
Absolutely. And what a Renaissance person to have with us. I love all these different parts of your life that have come together. And my most favorite part is proving that terrible advisor wrong. Published author. There's so much to us. And I'm glad that you are living into that truth for yourself. And I can't wait to read those. That book that you popped up before, we'll talk more about it in a little bit. It's beautifully illustrated too. But this is such a great story of resilience and reinvention. Your wife encouraging you, and then the invention that came out of the pandemic. And I think a lot of people have discovered different ways to kind of express themselves and be artistic. And so this is very encouraging, folks who might be out there thinking about maybe they're toying with writing a children's book. And I wonder if you could share with us maybe something that folks could learn from your experience.
It's like breaking into any new industry. Like I still am constantly learning, new ways of doing stuff and always listening to. I actually really learned a lot to how to take criticism. I was never really good at that, to be honest. And like now that was where so much of it started from. Just my wife's been teaching for like 17 years in Framingham public schools. And so all her friends and my mother's, she's been teaching for like 40 years. So most of that, how to, what kids like, that kind of thing. I took cues from them and friends of ours, their kids, my daughter, because I'm around contractors all day on a regular basis. That's not really, there's plenty of inspiration for funny stories. Don't get me wrong.
You probably couldn't put them in children's stories, though.
No, it would be everybody wants to be a character. Jeez. Can I be the silly lion? When is there going to be a plumber, in one of your books?
A porcupine.
The material is endless.
It's so much material. I have a friend who I work with. He owns a car wash in Framingham, Leland Street Car Wash. And you want to see funny stories, just plant yourself at a car wash all day. And the things you'll see, you'll never see anywhere else. Most of it is not for a kid's book, but in theory, it's fine.
But I love this because it's like you draw inspiration from the world in which you live. You don't need to necessarily go too far or research to bring the world around you into what you love doing.
Yeah. No, it's true. It's true. I mean, I have tons of friends that are police officers and firemen. And actually in Freddy, I always, as a kid, and my daughter loves Curious George. So the fireman in Freddy the Frog flying his frisbee learns how to throw a frisbee with his fireman friend, Frank. So I had that tie to like the man with the yellow hat and Curious George, how they started, in his first books when they came out. I had that idea in my head, similar to that. So yeah, it's kind of I try to keep everything kind of really traditional and in the family based, all that sort of stuff. And friends matter, and we have great friends and great family. So they've been a big help all along the way too. Support of them and trying to get the word out, buying books and giving me their feedback and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I mean, without your friends and your family, I mean, what else you got,
How did you figure out how to do it? When you have an idea, you make up a story with your daughter. This sounds like a fairly simple process, right? You put some words on paper, you sketch something out. I imagine it's a bit more involved in that. So how did you know what to do or what you didn't know?
So I tried to self-publish a bunch of different times and work with, freelance artist people. And it just never worked out, unfortunately. I came across this publishing company that did the last 3 books, and they actually had Calpart, who was the illustrator on all of them too, that did them. So they worked with me on all the art and distribution. Like they're all available on Amazon. They're available all throughout the world. Like if you're in Germany, if you look up one of the books, that shows up in German, for an example, or wherever. I think the toughest thing that I still haven't figured out, and if anybody knows, I'm not Julian Edelman, who played for the Patriots, and he wrote a kid's book. You know what I mean? I didn't even know he could read, to be honest. I'm just kidding if he's watching this. Totally kidding. But he has the name recognition. It would be like if Tom Brady wrote a kid's book. It doesn't even need to be a kid. Yeah, I'd go buy it. I'd buy it in a heartbeat. Yeah, exactly. So that's always the challenge. But, it's the challenge I feel like with any business. Like when I started my contracting business, no one knew who I was, for that. And it was just a matter of talking to people, networking with people. And you can take that for any business. I've found if you get out there and you get in front of as many people as you possibly can, if the product is decent, more than likely someone's gonna buy it, is the way I kind of look at it. But we try to make everything 100% great, whether it's the contracting business or the books or whatever I'm doing, to try to go above and beyond all the time as much as possible. And you stumble and you make mistakes and you fix it. But I mean, that's kind of like life in general anyway. I mean, everybody makes mistakes all the time, every day. Some like me make them more than often. And, but I always tell my daughter, I'm like, hey, you made a mistake. It's fine. Fix it and move on. It's going to happen another million times. So, don't dwell on it. It'll just keep you down if you keep dwelling on the mistake.
It's such wisdom, because, those are life lessons. Mistakes are often our best teachers. And I really appreciate that you're talking about the struggle, but you also mentioned that you've had to learn to take feedback. And that's one of the greatest skills that you can learn in life, is to take feedback. And it also kind of opens you up to saying, okay, well, that idea didn't work, but I'll try this idea or the next right idea. And it kind of spurs the creativity. But I'm wondering about how writing came back to you and came back into your life, and how rewarding that must be to incorporate that back into your everyday living.
It was great. And I got it from my grandfather as a little kid, like real little. He's been gone a long time, but he published poetry and stuff like that way back when. And I kind of always got it from him. He was always kind of like the dreamer. He always said he was going to win the megabucks, every week. When I remember as a little kid, just always the same idea. He's going to be a famous writer. Hopefully, it won't be like Shakespeare, where it'll be like 300 years from now, and then someone will care one way or the other. But I forgot what the rest of the question was, to be honest.
No, just about it. I think you're saying it, like how rewarding it is to have writing come back into your life.
And that's the thing. I guess that's what I was going to say, is that it never really left. It was always there. It just kind of got put on the side because of the daily rigmarole of life, work, et cetera, et cetera. But I mean, like in college, like I used to write poetry all the time, and short stories and all that sort of stuff. But my attention span is tough. So I've never even dreamt of trying to write a novel or getting into more grown-up style kind of writing for that reason. It's also drawn me back into like music, which I always liked. We had this idea. I started writing a song for each book, so that eventually we're working on putting together the final kids album, where I've been working with a great pianist, and she's been slowly teaching me how to play the piano a little bit, but I'm a horrible singer. So she's doing the singing. And so there's a Freddy song, and there's an Amanda the Anteater song. We have a few other songs that we're working on. We're kind of figuring that whole industry, how to get the music on these platforms and get it out there. And at the same time, figure out how to do that more with the books too, as well. Because also I see, as you probably see, like social media, like Facebook and those things, there are so many people I feel like that I know that are overwhelmed on those platforms. There's so much stuff. So you miss 90% of everything that goes through. And it's funny, we always joke around. We miss the old days when people would like sit down and talk to each other, even like this. I mean, at least we're talking. You're a real person. You're not texting me. It's not a text interview. Those olden days where people would stop by your house. Yeah. When was the last time you had someone just knock on your door and, I haven't seen you in a while, Rhonda. Do you mind if I come? Yeah, come on in for coffee and Entenmann's,
Yeah, but just being fully and completely present to each other. And I feel like the longer we talk to Matt, the more skills and hidden secrets we're going to find out. Now, the music as well. I mean, I think this is just tremendous to have this part of you just on fire, and it generates new thoughts and creativity. And I have to imagine that, you know, it blends into like all of the creative artistic stuff also lends itself to the other work that you're doing. It's just good energy.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks.
I'm totally struck by your bravery in learning how to do the piano and create music. And I'm also taken with like this. I hear an homage to family in the fourth book, in talking about your grandfather, how this all came to be with telling stories to your daughter. This is clearly something that's important to you and a major principle in how you live your life. Could you share a little bit more about the experience of writing that fourth book and the significance of it for you and the people you love?
Yeah, it was tough because I knew my wife was going to be really emotional about it, you know, in a good way and in a sad way, obviously, too. Because when her mother passed away, it was during all the COVID rules. So she couldn't see her. She had to say goodbye to her over a Zoom call.
That's really hard. I'm so sorry.
Thanks. Yeah, my daughter did too. And the whole family. And they're a big Irish Italian family, mostly Irish. Most of everybody's in Connecticut and New York, mostly. There's a few scattered elsewhere. But yeah, it was just terrible to see everybody to drag it all out, you know, for like a year and a half, you know, even after she was gone, having to wait, you know, to do the funeral, to do the wake, to do, you know, that closure. You know, closure is the biggest thing. If you don't have closure, you can't move past anything. So that was a big part of it. And we saw other people go through the same thing during that time. It was a horrible time for everybody. Everybody had stuff that they were dealing with that you couldn't do a lot about. The whole point of the story on the lower end was to, you know, maybe help kids that had something like that happen, maybe simplify it a little bit or make it easier for them. Because when the story's out, it actually occurred. My daughter, when she was going to bed one night, she was thinking of her grandmother, and she wanted to say a prayer to her. You know, and we're not overly religious or anything like that. I'm not going down, you know, that kind of road, but you know, she wanted to say a prayer to say goodnight to her because she said that, you know, her grandmother was, you know, probably watching her. And anyways, that's where the actual story came from, was her talking to her grandma. And it's good. When the art comes out, they took actual pictures that I gave them, turned them into like cartoon versions of me, my wife, my daughter. Which was really cool. I'd never seen a cartoon of us. And I said to her, I was like, geez, could I lose about 10 pounds? I don't know if I like that one of me. And she was like, oh, I'm sorry, the artist. I was like, no, I'm just kidding. But, you know, she gave me a little less gray hair in my beard. So that part worked out good.
You know, it's so touching.
It is. And I think about that terrible advisor and what they didn't know that your calling would be to be a children's author. And one of the most fascinating things about children's literature is that they often have like this disparate topic or something that's very scary or something that's sad. And sometimes people wonder, why are those elements there? But it prepares us for when we face our own monsters or when we face the death of someone that we know that's close to us. And that's a beautiful, powerful part of children's literature, and also embedded in the morals and these lessons that you're trying to teach. That's a great tribute. And thank you for sharing what I know is a very hard but beautiful story. And speaking of your stories, what you showed us, that they're beautiful. It's beautifully illustrated. They're bright, lively colors. And I'm wondering if you would be willing to read a favorite part from one of your books with us.
Sure. I'll do actually Amanda the Anteater. She stops eating ants. It's the letter A.
Yes.
If you haven't.
I'm sorry, listeners. You're going to have to wait for Freddy the Frog. Today, it's all about Amanda.
I know. We'll have links in our newsletter for sure.
Absolutely.
They're all. Oh, I can read Freddy. I can.
No, I'm teasing.
No, whatever
we want, Amanda.
Whatever you've got.
Okay. So at about 8 a.m., Amanda the Anteater was accustomed to awaken at almost the same time every day. Amanda and all her anteater friends always awoke with ants as their most important agenda item of the day. The ants anticipated the anteaters with animosity, and they aggressively ran and hid. Actually, I really, if you can see this.
That's beautiful artwork.
There's Amanda.
Oh, folks,
friends, if you're listening,
you gotta buy
they
these.
are the most adorable characters.
I always buy these kind of books and have them in my closet so I can have gifts to give to kids. I'm absolutely buying them. They're beautifully illustrated, but just adorable. I love it. We are going to learn some A-letter words.
I mean, in that brief read, the vocabulary was incredible.
Fantastic.
So your advising from your wife was spot on. Mm-hmm. That's going to help a lot of learners and young readers for sure.
Oh, and the other thing that's cool that we did in all three of the books is there's actual learning activities at the end of each book. And I always forget to say that.
No, that's actually really good to know and good for the educators out there to have in their schoolrooms. Helps them do their job. So fantastic. Your wife is a brilliant woman.
She is.
A great advisor.
She definitely is. I give her all the credit. She's the smart one in the group, I always say.
Matt, you've taken a really interesting path combining your work as a business owner and pursuing this art and creating and publishing children's literature. So I'm guessing, and we've already heard quite a bit so far, that you have learned many a lesson. What would you offer to our audience today for a golden nugget, something you could impart upon us so that we can do life a little bit better?
I would say never give up on whatever your dream is. Even if it's something you have, you might not even know anything about what the actual thing is, like a children's book or writing a song or, whatever. It really doesn't matter. You just always have to you fall, you fail, you get up. You fall, you fail, you get up. Doesn't matter how many times that you fail. I feel like every millionaire failed like 100 times before they made that, if that's your goal. But whatever your dream is, whatever your thing is, you just have to put yourself out there and give 110%, and sometimes more than that too. But always never give up, I guess, is the biggest thing, whatever it is that you want, and just keep trying. And eventually you'll get it if you give all yourself to that thing. So
that's a good nugget. A great advice for folks who are listening. Anybody's ever sort of been negative about your dream or told you couldn't do something that was really deeply embedded in your heart? You need to excise that, let that go and say, oh yeah, well, watch me now. I am a published author, and that is excellent role modeling. So Thank you for sharing your really fascinating, but also very vulnerable story. And I have to say, I like to be the golden nugget, but they often make me the timekeeper around here. So I'm the timekeeper, which means that we're almost at the end of our time together. But before we go, we're wondering, Matt, what comes next for you?
Well, like I said, the fourth book will be out, and hopefully you'll see a music album that'll be out too. Hopefully iTunes and Amazon Music and places like that. And then hopefully a fifth book and so on and so forth.
Terrific. What's the name of the fourth book? Do you have a title yet?
Yeah, it's a Goodnight Grammy.
Oh, awesome.
Well, that's a story that deserves to be told. And friends, you can find out about what Matt is bringing to the world at authormattrufo.com. That's authormattrufo.com. That's the website that you can keep track of all the great works he's doing. And a great big thank you, Matt, for being with us for this conversation. It's been a pleasure, and I can't wait to just stay tuned for what's going to come next for you, because everything you've done is pretty heartwarming.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Great story.
Thank you.
And, of course, special thanks to our talented and skilled producer behind the scenes, Kathy Carswell.
And so it is left for me to say, go forth, be brave, live well, and do good, because it's Act 2. You're on.
Act 2 You're On was brought to you by Act 2 Share Our Stage. You can find us at a2yo.com and also on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn.
Please download, listen, and subscribe wherever you find your podcast. You can support us using Patreon or buy us a coffee.
I do like coffee.
No, you don't need any more caffeine, Kate.
Buy Us a Coffee is a platform that folks can use to support entrepreneurs and artists like us.
So we can keep providing resources for the doers and dreamers to find connection, purpose, and the skills needed to create a sustainable, fulfilling life to better serve the world. And also, so we can buy more coffee.
Oh, Kate, thanks for listening, everyone.